it's only 8 people who really want to improve their sex life. I know the people
Okay.
who are going to be good lovers.
Mm, yes.
9 people now. Excellent.
Yes. Going for 10.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. Go team.
Mm. Go team. Okay. Yeah. We should be in here. If some people are jumping in, I will admit them as they are coming through.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, so excited to have you, Katia. For those of you who don't know, Katia is one of my, well, breath master. She's the founder of Global Breathing Awareness. She's one of my personal breathing teachers, breath sister, goddess. My one of my greatest inspirations, and I'm so excited to have her here today to really dive into this juicy topic of sexy breath work and how the breath can weave into our the relationship with ourselves, into our sex life, into all relationships, and just in general have a sexy life. So I want to jumpstart this live by because the intention for me was all around how being in integrity with ourselves can really align you and unlock unlimited potential within your sex life and within your life and your relationships. So, with that said, how would you define integrity, Katia?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I think that if people start to really think about this question, how would they define integrity? Because when you put it forward to me, I was like, oh, yeah, I always use that word, and I should be able to really define what it means to me. And I think what integrity really means to me is feeling whole within myself. So really not having parts of myself which are doubting what I'm doing. And usually that comes from really being in your heart and being able to express what it is for you. First of all, knowing yourself, because um, knowing your body, knowing your mind, knowing yourself, you can't be sovereign to yourself. You can't be whole if you haven't done some research into getting to know yourself, right? And so when it comes to sex, for example, because this is the topic today, and sexy breath work and really, really being in alignment with your partner and having the most incredible experiences and taking your experiences higher and higher and higher, is that isn't really possible if you don't really know yourself and if you don't have respect for yourself. Because often, of course, not only often, always, the way that we think about a certain topic affects the results of what we get. So, for example, if I have parts of myself where I feel shame still towards sex, right? And I'm the only one who knows what they are, that will still affect my experience of sexual pleasure. Okay, for example, if I don't like my body, then and I approach somebody and I want to merge with them to create something incredible and beautiful, if I have shame about my body, it will be the thing that stops me from actually having this full, incredible experience. You see, if I'm a people pleaser, then I'm going to be spending my whole entire time trying to please the other person for their approval, and therefore I'm going to miss out on my own pleasure. Okay, so I think being in integrity is really being whole in yourself, understanding the different things about yourself, which are very, very important towards whatever topic it is. For example, you know, maybe I'm a person who's in integrity when it comes to work and money, but I may not be in integrity with myself when it comes to my own body and the way that I allow somebody else to receive it or touch it. Okay. So I really, really believe that integrity means being honest with yourself, looking into yourself, seeing what it is that is still complicated inside of you so that you can bring all of those pieces together, feel whole, okay, feel sovereign, feel complete, and then you can share with somebody else. So that is what being in integrity with myself means to me now. And what about you, Danny? What does it mean to you?
Mm. Yeah, so I wanted to bring up this quote that you said at our last seminar, and it really stuck with me on the whole 3 weeks. This quote that you said, if you're in a relationship for anything other than love, you are out of integrity with yourself. And
Yeah,
this really spoke with me, and it still is. I'm still uncovering many layers to this. Um, but to me, integrity is is coming back to honesty, right? And this is one of my values, honesty. And I feel like when we are in alignment with, not only in alignment, we know what we value in ourselves,
mm-hmm.
and when we are in alignment, and when our actions and our words are in alignment with those values. And I feel
Right,
like that's what integrity is to me. It's like being honest with myself about, um like what it is, disregarding, like, almost, it might be not what the general public may want, or regardless if it's like maybe
right.
a bad situation or it's not good. It's almost like going out of that, comfort zone, or what the general public may think is quote unquote good for you, or but only you know what's good for you. So it is that authenticity and that honesty within yourself.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And also when it comes to sex with your own body. Okay. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have you know, one night stands or all sorts of you know, whatever it is that you feel is your need to experiment with right now. It's okay to do it. It's okay to do it as long as it's not harming anybody, right? But doing it without being in integrity with yourself almost always results in more self-judgment, questioning, and hatred.
mm,
Okay. So I'm not saying that, you know, uh, we're talking right now about, I mean, this is my understanding of what this seminar is about. We're talking about reaching ultimate heights, spiritual connection with somebody else, another person. Okay. So if you, so that means you can also reach this even with somebody you've had sex once with, if both of you are in integrity and in alignment with it. Okay, so it's not that I'm saying that
mm,
you can't have sex with multiple partners or whatever it is, whatever it is, but you'll find that it doesn't matter what sexual practice you do, your knowledge of your own self and your senses will only develop and evolve if you are with a partner who really respects and loves you and is willing to take you to new levels of pleasure and connection. So it's a two-way thing. It's not just one person thinking, okay, well, look, I really want to learn breathing techniques because I really want to be good at sex. you know, but then if I go and I sleep with somebody who I don't know and who really doesn't care about me, that doesn't mean that your sex life is going to improve just because you know some breathing techniques, right?
Mm.
Okay. So that's all a part of the integrity issue. It's all a part of evolving your sexuality to a place where you feel so free of guilt, so in integrity with yourself, that the only practice which is necessary is actually having the experience.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so
Absolutely.
really sex and everything that you want to be good at, it's really just a relationship with yourself. Right? So if you're and you can understand a lot about yourself by the way that you react during sex, a lot. So really, honestly, if there was a way it could be done, and it's starting to be done slowly, slowly, there are lots of avenues now where people can explore their sexuality, right? But you can create a whole entire self-development seminar understanding everything about yourself just by the way that you behave with your romantic and sexual partner.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
And sometimes I remember one time I was with Sandra Ray, and she said to me that she went to a therapist and she was talking to the therapist. No, the therapist kept asking her about her boyfriend. And it was really annoying her because she wanted to talk about herself, her own problems.
Mm.
And he kept on going back. And then in the end, he told her, I don't need to know anything about you. I know everything about you by the person who's with you, everything.
Mm.
Right? The person you've chosen to be with and the relationship you've chosen to have. And so this goes as well into the whole sexual territory, because sex is a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
Okay, it's that's if you really think about the moment of orgasm, it's a enlightened experience. Now it can get even more enlightened. It can get even hotter. It can be everything that you want it to be, as long as you and your partner are willing to take it there. Right?
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I remember you saying in a previous webinar, the surrender is more important than the breathing itself. And this
Right.
could go for any, put yourself in any context, situation, in the sex, in work, in life, in breathing. So
Yeah.
yeah, this.
So the interesting thing, Danny, is that I don't know how many of you on this meeting have already done breath work, like have had a rebirthing session or a breath work session. I don't know. Okay. But it's almost exactly the same, really. Once you go into the depths of it, it's almost exactly the same as having really excellent sex. That's why we call it a cosmic orgasm.
Mm.
Right? Because when you are trying to have an orgasm, okay, if I had a board here, I could do you a diagram. But what happens when you are, you merge with your partner, you start to kiss or you start to tease, or you don't even have to do anything. You can just be around each other or sending each other messages or whatever it is. There starts to be a build-up, okay, in excitement. Right? And this excitement, because it's primitive to us, it's something which is embedded in us because we are on this planet to reproduce. All of the animals do it as well. It's a physical, primitive thing. Okay. So there's the buildup of excitement, build, 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 right? Then there's a plateau. Okay. So you get to this buildup of excitement. You're excited, you're excited, you're excited. If you're making love, there's a plateau. And in this plateau, it's like, you're going to have an orgasm, but then you might not have an orgasm. It's like that plateau where it's coming. Okay. And this part, is uh it really, really is an excellent place for you to learn total surrender, because it's during the plateau that people lose their orgasm. Okay, during that plateau time where you are required to surrender more and more and more to the sensation, right? And then you have your orgasm, so it goes up, okay, and you have this incredible experience. And then you have the integration. So afterwards, when you're lying there and you have enjoyed this incredible physical, spiritual experience, right? So the same thing happens in a breathwork session. You start to breathe, okay, and you're, getting more and more energy, more and more energy, more and more energy. And then sometimes you get so much energy that your body is paralyzed. And there's something you're waiting for, you don't know what it is, okay? And your mind is in the paralysis or in the pain or whatever it is, there's a plateau, okay? Then usually when there's a surrender at the plateau, you have an emotional release or some beautiful, ecstatic vision, sound, understanding, something spiritual happens. You're in the present moment, okay? And it feels so amazing. It feels like nothing else exists, just like an orgasm, right? It's a moment when it's only you and God, right? And then afterwards, you have your integration phase where you're coming down from this incredible experience, right? And, but this incredible experience has done so much to your body, it's healed you. Sex can be very, very healing, right? And so the more that you do it, but with awareness, the more excited that you can become to doing it again, right? Now, lots of different people have got lots of issues. For example, I know girls with endometriosis or other problems, men who've got other problems, all sorts of problems. That doesn't mean that you'll never be able to enjoy sex, right? All it means is that you've got to have enough body awareness and a partner who is caring enough to still take you both to those incredible heights. Even if you think that, okay, sex is too painful or I can't do it, there's lots of ways of making love and having sex. It's not just about penetration and it's not just about orgasm, right? So the whole entire sexual game is actually what's driving everything towards this incredible merging of two human beings. Okay. And so one of the most wonderful things about the breath is that it teaches you more about your body and about your sensations. Okay, so now I'm talking to anybody who wants to do any form of breath work. Okay, so one inhale and one exhale is breath work. It's conscious breathing, right? So there's, say, for example, if somebody was really interested into going into this, they could either do Tantra or lots of other practices that exist, okay? And they can also do breath work, because breath work helps them to systematically untangle the knots in their mind while becoming more intimate with their own body and their own sensations and their own self. Right? So if you want to really improve your sex life, start doing some breath work, but the sort of breath work that is going to teach you about your body, that's going to take you into your body and say, wow, hold on a second. This is what it feels like if I breathe in through my nose. This is where the blockage is. This is where I can feel the vibrations. This is a way to get excited and horny. Because really, what is the breath? It's life energy. And what's happening during sex? Life energy is moving around your body because primitively, our body is made to feel this. Okay. So using your breath correctly, you know, this is the sort of thing. So whether it's breath work or whether it's sex, okay, there is no correct way to do breath work. There's just lots of different ways to do breath work. There's no correct way to do sex. There's lots of different ways to do sex, and it's very individualized experience. The only way that I could help you is by getting you to understand your body better. So even if I drew a diagram here and I said, girls, because, okay, for men, it's pretty easy to achieve an orgasm, but most of them want to heighten the sensation of the orgasm. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. So let's say for the women who are on this group, let's say I put, you know, a picture up here of a clitoris and you know, a vulva, everything. And I told you very technically where everything is. Okay. Even if I said to you, hey, if you know, press number 1, press number 2, do this to number 3, number 4, number 5, you still won't have an orgasm. Because it's very individualized. It's got to do with you and what you desire, what's missing in many ways from you. And one very interesting thing, which Danny knows, or anybody who's been on my seminars knows, is that your relationship with your mother during infancy from 0 to 9 months old, and the way that she handled you has got a lot to do with the way that you behave during sex and the things that you desire, right? So if it was normal for your mother to be in a hurry and mishandle you, okay, you could go in 2 directions. Either you could become very needy and want it to last a long time and never be able to actually climax, right? Or you could be the sort of person that likes to be mishandled during sex and can only achieve orgasm in that way. So you guys know your sex life much better than I do. Only you know what's in your mind at the moment you have an orgasm. You know, are you totally surrendered to what is? Or do you have to have a kind of fantasy going on for you to actually have an orgasm? Right? So it's so individualized. So the only thing I can really do to help you guys in this short amount of time is help you to understand the sensations in your body and the way they relate to your breath, you know, your mind, your breath, and sound. They're the 3 things that can heighten your physical sensations sexually, the vibrations. Okay. Sorry, Danny, I don't know if I've taken you off track. You know, I'm just going on and on.
I kind of want to go up track because I've been wanting to ask you for a while. How would you describe integration?
Integration. Well,
Yes.
it's very, very funny. Okay. Because integrity and integration come from the same word linguistically. Okay.
Wow, of course.
It's amazing. So integration is actually that feeling of wholeness.
Wow.
You know, it's a kind of letting go. It's a kind of letting go of everything. Nothing else matters. I'm completely whole. I know what I want. Okay. And I'm feeling it. It's a healing, a deep, deep healing integration. It's your body overcoming its cognitive dissonance towards something and actually embodying and accepting it. That's what it's like during a breathwork session. So anyone who's had a breathwork session knows that during integration, you know, there's no thinking, there's just being present and enjoying, and your body loves it, right? And it's really a feeling of being whole, a feeling also for me, even though that this might not be, you know, clinically mean the same thing, integration for integration. Okay. So For me, integration is also a merging with God. Okay. So, that's very specific to me because I'm quite spiritual, and I take especially things that have to do with my body, because I think my body is a gift from God, right? Or from the divine or universe or anything that you want to call, right? So if anybody wants to enter my body, it's a temple. It's a merging with God, right? And I have the same respect for somebody else. And this is how you can have the hottest relationship ever, you know? So
Yes.
that's what integration is, I think.
I think I'm having so many revelations because I've been wanting to ask you that for a while, and this root, it comes from the Greek in integrity and integration. Do you know what it means in Greek?
I honestly don't know what it means in Greek, but
We can look it
and
up later.
Cephas isn't in the room at the moment, but I could send it to you. I could ask him and send it
Okay.
to you, and you could post it later on if anyone
Okay,
is.
I would love to later.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then we can move on. I have some questions gathered so I can just
Yep.
jump into those. And you sort of touched on a few of them, but we can go into the depth now. So, the first question is coming from a brother, and it goes. So he says, I tend to opt for multiple orgasms and semen retention most of the time, and I have noticed that he gets too hot, mainly in the crown chakra, and he was wondering if you know about this concept and discuss any pointers of how not to get too high from the energy buildup in the head, because last time this happened, it felt almost like his brain was being fried.
Yeah.
So
Well, it
yeah.
can. It can feel like like any of these things, any of these practices, guys, you're playing in a field where it's like saying, for example, um, somebody, sometimes I have a person who's doing a breathwork session and they breathe this much, like really, really little. And I'm trying to get them to breathe, and but I can clearly see that they don't need to breathe too much to have an incredible experience, right? And so you're playing in a field which is an experiment at the moment. Okay, so maybe the things that you're doing will affect your body and your reality in a different way to what it would affect somebody else, because it's very individualized. Okay, so it's good that we're speaking about ejaculation and semen retention and all of these sort of things for the men who are on the group and are interested. For sure, definitely. If you know how to do it, you see, the thing is that these practices that we're talking about, they come with a school of thought, right? The school of thought that they come with makes them more significant, because it's not just about holding back your semen. For sure, if you hold back your semen and you do that repetitively, your orgasm eventually is going to be much more intense, because that excitement built up that we have been talking about is going to be building up in you and building up in you. And so the goal for both sexes shouldn't really be orgasm, because the orgasm will come, and it will come very, very strong if you've got the buildup, right? It's like when you meet somebody, right? So somebody might have met, you guys might have met somebody, and there's a big flirtation and it's incredible and everything, and you're getting more and more and more and more and more excited, and then you sleep together and within a minute you have an incredible orgasm. It's not because the person is bad at making love, it's because the buildup has led to the orgasm. So the buildup can be foreplay, it can be dinner, it can be music, it can be dancing, it can be kissing, it can be anything. Okay, it can be intellectual. Some people love that, you know, Sorry, but that mind fuck, right? So, retaining sperm is a wonderful technique. If it's done correctly, it's done with a whole set of spiritual practices. Those spiritual practices help you and teach you how to disperse the intense energy which you are generating because of your actions, right? So if you are getting yourself more and more and more and more and more intense, and the energy is moving and everything like that, and you don't know yet how to disperse this energy and move it through your body, then you will have it collecting in different places, and it can be very painful. Just like in a breathing session, it said if you don't convert to love, it can turn to rage. Yes, definitely it can turn to rage. Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So this is why all of these practices come with, rules. And that doesn't mean that those rules have to apply to you. And it doesn't mean that you've got to follow a certain religion. Okay, because Tantra is a religion. I mean, if you really, really know people who do Tantra, like I do, really know them, you'll see that that is their spiritual path that they are dedicated to. And it involves all sorts of stuff, right? So it's not really just about doing something like, like, because I read that question, putting your tongue at the top of your mouth. Yes, it may help you, but this is an evolving thing, right? Like breath work, like having a wonderful relationship with a partner is an evolving thing. Okay, so I recommend to whoever asks that question to pleasure their body in different ways. So if you have this buildup and you don't know what to do with it, you can go for a swim, you can go for a jog, okay? Or you can meditate and learn to disperse this energy into other areas of your life, because that's why you're doing it. Okay, so people who retain their sperm, they're doing it because the theory is that this energy, this life force energy, which is contained in the sperm, is limited. It's Chinese medicine. Okay, so they say that every man and every woman have got a limited amount of ejaculations. Every time they ejaculate, they lose some life force energy, because the life force energy is contained in the sperm. So you shouldn't ejaculate. Okay. So this is a theory. We don't know if it's true. Okay. If you lose a little bit of life every time you ejaculate, you lose a little bit of your life. So it's a longevity practice. It's a very deep spiritual practice, right? And it's wonderful to do it. You don't have to follow it as a practice, but if you decide to follow it in your own way, you've got to experiment in your own way. See? So I think that everybody should experiment with their body and get to know what it can do in their own way. I have to be honest. Yeah. Well, if you believe that, every time you ejaculate, you're going to lose some energy, then yeah, definitely teenagers need to know about it, because they're ejaculating 2-3 times a day, right? Aren't they? Yeah. So, but I personally don't believe it. Okay, so that's my personal belief, because I think that, there are lots of ways of getting life force energy. Lots. Yeah, I hope I answered that question. Thank you very much, whoever sent it in. It's a very interesting question.
Beautiful. Okay, so the next
And I recommend, Mandak Chia. Mandak Chia is the expert on ejaculation, I mean, he's written like 13 books on it.
Mandak Chia.
Yeah.
Perfect.
He's Chinese, and he's it's his thing. Okay. Mandak, so it's Mantak, Chia. Mandak Chia. Sorry, I'm sure I can write it, my love.
Okay.
Mantak. I'm pretty sure this is how it's spelled, but you can find it, I'm sure. Some of the schools of Tantra can be pretty scary as well. I mean, they go in there and they talk about evil and, all sorts of things. It's really fascinating. I think everybody should read all this stuff.
Totally.
It's so interesting, right? But with an open mind, you don't have to believe everything you read,
Absolutely. I agree. There's so much beautiful knowledge out there. Okay, so this question goes not so much a question, but so she's sabotaging her relationships by thinking that they aren't the one, and she finds herself running away only to be disappointed. And this is kind of linked to the insecurity around insecurity.
Okay. Well, whoever it is, every single one that you get with is the one. Okay. I mean, like I'm telling you, it's the one, right? And the reason I say that is because every single person that you're attracted to and allow yourself to get into a situation like that with is somebody that you and your energy and your vibration and your history and your ancestry and absolutely everything has culminated to this moment where you've met this person who is the one for you at this moment. Now, if he hits you, if he's horrible to you, if he's this, if he's that, if you're horrible to him, if it's a big mess, it doesn't matter. He's still the one for now. You chose him or her. Sorry. Okay. You've chosen them. So you get into a relationship with them. You go through the same thing again, whatever, or you go through something different. It might be painful. It might be pleasurable. It might be boring. It's always got to do with you. When you are ready to receive the one will show up. So I have to honestly say, I don't believe in the one. I believe in timing. Okay, so you might meet the one when you're 7 and he's 54. And then what? Right? Or you might meet the one and he's married because he already has something that he has to solve with someone else. Okay, so if you start to think of the one, then you limit yourself. It's just a very twisted way of thinking, you see. So the way to become more aware around your relationships is not to focus on the person you're having a relationship with, but rather focus on yourself and what you're doing in this relationship. So the relationship is just information for you. And I know that sounds very unromantic, but when you look at it in hindsight as an older person, that's why when you're around older people, they shake their head. You say, oh, I'm so in love. And they're like, oh, yeah, right. Okay. But that's, okay, ignore them. Be in love. Right. But they say it because they've had that experience several times and they can see in hindsight that it wasn't the one. Okay. So I think you should treat every single person as the one. But when I say that, I don't mean to become a psycho and want that person to marry you and stuff like that. Okay. It depends what you expect from the one. You know, I mean, God, it could be scary, right? But be in respect for the union that you've chosen to experience with this person. Okay, and be in respect towards yourself, because if that union takes you into a direction that you know is not right for you, then you have to, even if you think they're the one, you have to throw them out. Isn't it? I mean, if I get idea stuck in my head, this is the one, and I get together with the person and then afterwards it turns into something horrible, do I have to stay with them because I think they're the one? I don't think, I mean, you know, I don't think that's a life.
Right? Yeah, coming back to the theme of integrity, of wholeness, of this, of sex, of every relationship really being a spiritual experience with yourself and with God. And I feel a lot of these questions are all connected, no matter what the questions are, because it all does come back to that connection with yourself, and that being the spiritual experience.
And your boundaries.
And your boundaries.
We haven't spoken about boundaries, but boundaries are very, very important, and people need to learn to speak up during sex and about sex.
To what are you referring to in this regard?
Well, the thing is that, you know, in the beginning of the conversation, I said, let's say you're a people pleaser, then you end up pleasing the other person all the time, and you may even fake having orgasms as a woman because you just want the other person to feel like they've done a good job. Okay, so I'm sure that every woman on this call has probably done that, right? So what I believe is that when you are, if you're not in that space inside of yourself where you really understand what it is that you want, and you haven't cleared those sort of patterns, right, then you'll just continue in the same pattern and you will never get the pleasure that you deserve, because you've never spoken up. You've never put the boundary. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a shocking story. I mean, you know, not so shocking. Yes. Okay. I had a client and she came to me and she was telling me about this other therapist that she went to, and she was kind of complaining about him. And she said that she told this other therapist that she got together with this guy, and after making love with him a couple of times, she was dating him. After making love with him for a couple of times, he asked her to have anal sex. Okay, so she agreed to have anal sex because she wanted to please him. And so then after that, every time she went to see him, he asked her for anal sex. Okay, and she kept on agreeing because she wanted to please him. And so she was telling this story to the doctor or whoever she was seeing. And he said to her, which I thought was the best. Okay. He said to her, Anna, her name was Anna, if I asked you to have anal sex every night and you said yes, I would think you like it. Right? I mean, I think that's very profound. Okay. And this is the thing, because we get into patterns and behaviors. We don't want to rock the boat, or we are afraid to lose the other person, or whatever it is that we're dealing with inside of ourselves. And we don't set the boundary. I like this, I don't like this. Or I'm willing to experiment with this, but not every day. Okay. So the only thing that really gets you to the next level with your body is learning how to respect it more than you respect somebody else's body. And that means speaking up. I don't like that, or I like that, right? So communication is huge. Without communication, it doesn't matter what breathwork technique I give you. Right? You could be sitting there going, and the other person might be really getting bothered from it and not turned on. Right? If they never tell you, well, you're just going to be the person who just did weird breathing noises during sex, you know, right? So boundaries.
There was a couple questions about like being in the mood, right? Like
Yeah.
one was, you know, my girl never seems to be in the mood, and then different context, right? And another, after having a baby 6 months, I haven't felt in the mood. And I
Right.
feel like in the mood, it does come back to knowing ourselves and knowing our bodies, and exactly setting those boundaries.
Well, look, I think there's a lot of pressure, okay, about having sex, or pleasing your partner, or I believe that when you're in a relationship and there is love and understanding, okay, then you see, if you've just had a baby and the baby is 6 months old, in your mind, you might think that 6 months is a long time of not being in the mood, okay? But the truth is that your body hasn't even come back to its normal state yet. You might even be breastfeeding, or you're giving all of your attention and love to the baby. Okay. And this is a natural thing. And trying to overcompensate is only going to lead you to more exhaustion and stress. So there are lots of things that you can do to get in the mood. But specifically, when it comes to being a new mother, I would say respect your relationship with your child and what your body is asking you for. Okay? That's what I believe. However, yes, you can get yourself in the mood right now. Okay? You can sit here. I can sit here. I can rock my hips backwards and forwards, and I can start going, right? And I can have an image in my mind. And in 1 minute, I'm horny. Okay, so there's lots of ways to do it. But if I really don't feel like it, then I'm not even going to do that 1 minute to make myself horny. So, for example, really, if this is a genuine question, and I know it is, you can touch yourself more, become more familiar with the new way that your vagina is. It changed. Okay, your genital organs have changed. And this is another thing, when you're in a long-term relationship, you need to be familiar with the changes going on in your partner. Your partner is not going to be the same forever. You're evolving and growing together. So getting in the mood can happen in 1 minute. But if you really are suffering circumstances, so that's a weird word because, of course, having a baby isn't suffering, but it is, because you have to overcome and learn who you are now. You're different. Okay. So yes, my love. Any other questions? Because I want to give these beautiful people, I don't want them to get bored. I want to give these beautiful people some techniques maybe, or what would
Yes.
you like to talk about?
Yeah, it's going into my next question, which is how can we radically shift into a new state of being and embody real love within ourselves?
Yeah. So I think really one of the most important things is just spending time. So when it comes to, when you talk about embodying love, okay, so there's so many ways to embody love, Danny. I mean, um, there's mutual respect, there's the love of a child, there is just presence. Okay. So the more you love yourself and you free yourself of your limited thinking, the more presence that you have, the more you embody love. But other people might do it differently. For example, I have seen, very religious people, of different faiths, and they haven't done psychology and undone their limiting beliefs. No, they just put all of their faith in God. And you see it on them that they embody love. You can see it coming through their eyes. So embodying love for me is just embodying the divine. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to follow any particular religion. It just means that you have to keep your heart open and open and open and open. And every time it breaks, it's okay. I'm going to open it again. I'm going to open it again. I'm going to keep on opening it. And when it's open enough, I embody love. Because every time it breaks, you have to start, you've got to get back to that place of loving yourself. You learn to love more and love more and love more. That's one way. That's another way. Okay. But just staying open and really, really giving back to yourself, loving your body, doing things for your body. Because most people just live totally out of their body. Right. So, whatever it is that gives you pleasure and heightens your sensations. Right.
So are you going to
I
give us
think,
some practical tips to heighten our sensations?
yeah, totally. Okay, beautiful. So, now, the first thing that you need to know is that your breath and your senses are very connected. Okay. That's why when we feel fear, our breath changes. When we feel anger, our breath changes. And you can feel the sensation in your body, and your breath is doing something with it. Okay. So one of the most wonderful things, and I hope that you guys do one time attend my seminar in Samothraki and come and meet Dani, who comes every year and is going to be a teacher at some point soon. She's going to be doing her own trainings. Come to the trainings and get into the breath work and learn more about your breath, because the breath is the beginning of everything. Okay, so when you go to yoga and you're doing the breathing, the pranayama, and then what's the movement? The movement is the extension of the breath. If you're doing qigong, what are you doing? Well, the movement is once again the extension of the breath. Okay, so if you start thinking of your sexuality and the sexual act as an extension of the breath, takes it completely to the next level, especially if you have the belief that the breath is spirit, right? So one of the biggest teachings is that, it's life force energy, it's spirit. That's why in Greek, your lungs are called pneumonia. It means they're the house of the breath. But pneumonia, pneuma, is spirit. So it's the house of the spirit. Okay, the breath and the spirit are the same thing. So if you actually have this belief, and it's in all the languages, actually, if you really go into it, you'll realize, okay, I think in Arabic, the word breath is the same word for the word soul. I'm not sure, something like this. Okay, or in even in Latin, okay, spiritus, inspiration, right? So if you start to think that the breath is the start of the practice, so I'm not separate to my breath. I'm not thinking, okay, I start kissing somebody, or I start to, and my breath is separate and I bring it in when I want to heighten something. Yes, it can work like that. But once again, it's practice, right? So think to yourself, first of all, that everything starts with the breath, and the breath is a dance. And it's a dance which connects you and the other person, because their exhale is your inhale, your exhale is their inhale. Okay, so there is this actual practice where you can sit opposite your partner and you can breathe into each other's breathing without touching each other for a spiritual connection, right? But I'm going to talk about a different type of thing, something much more simple. Okay. So how much do you know about your breath, for example? So, as I said, when it comes to sexuality, especially in the beginning, because after a while, you know your breath so well, you don't need to put it in a compartment. You don't need to I don't know the word.
Compartmentalize.
Right. Okay. So, when it comes to the breath, it's sound, breath, and mind. Okay. So let's try this. Let's inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose with a sound. Okay. A beautiful sigh, a sexy sound, right? Do it. You all have your microphones off, so you don't have to be embarrassed. I'm going to do it also. And what I want is that you're going to take the inhale, you're going to be very present, you're going to exhale with a sexy sound from your nose, and I want you to locate where the vibration and the sensation is from that single breath. Okay? So let's go all together. Deep inhale. And exhale with the sound through your nose. Again. Good. One more. Good. So, if you are able to be sensitive enough to see, where did that move the energy? Where was the sensation? Now, if somebody came to my ear and they did this, I would think it's very sexy. Much more sexy than I'd be terrified. I'm just kidding. Okay. Right? It's subtle. It can even make, you don't even need to make the sound. If you go near somebody's ear and you just go, they're going to get tingle up their spine. Right? You're going to move your own energy, but the sound makes the body vibrate. Okay. So you can experiment with this stuff later on by yourself. So the first one is inhale through the nose and exhale with the sound through the nose. Now we're going to inhale through the nose and exhale with the sound through our mouth. Okay. And in the same way, we're going to locate where it makes our body vibrate and if it turns us on somehow. Okay. So inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Again. Okay. And if you make it without a sound, let's try without a sound. Okay. So you've already felt the different qualities of the breath and where it's located. So for me, that was located deep in the chest and up to the solar plexus. The other one was in the throat and in the heart. Okay. Now let's try and inhale through the mouth and exhale through the mouth. Okay. And see where that moves the energy. So let's go. Make a sound. So that makes me feel like I'm vibrating more in the lower part of my body. Right? So once again, you need to experiment with that by yourself. Okay? And you need to experiment with what that does to your partner. Your partner, if you're just breathing with your partner, you can turn them on. As a matter of fact, if you're having sex with your partner and you feel uncomfortable, for example, about saying something, you can tell them with your breath. Okay, so if I'm going, okay, and I want my partner to go slow, so I'm slowing my breath down. If I want my partner to go faster, I can go, right? Okay, you can send all the information you want to your partner with one breath once you become in tune with your partner. Okay, so that's sexy breath work, right?
I'm feeling
And then,
sexy right now.
yeah, right. And then you can do things like, for example, you can use your mind, because we didn't use our mind at all. Okay, so I can visualize, for example, my partner, sorry about being so, but maybe sucking my nipple. And I can send my breath to the sensation there. I can make that sensation more intense by breathing into it. Even if it's happening at that moment, I can take my attention there, or I can leave my body. Okay, so leaving your body is not, let's say good sex happens when you're in your body, right? However, sometimes if you relax completely to the sensations and you don't try and do anything, you're just there observing your own body and the sensations and allowing the breath to breathe you in whichever way it needs to, then you can also have an incredible experience. You can allow the sensations to take you to the next level. Okay. So I don't know if anyone wants to ask any questions or wants to know something more specific. I'm very, very happy to answer it. For example, if you want to do circular breathing, you can circular breathe into your genitals. You can give yourself an orgasm by doing that, just by breathing without even touching yourself. If you really don't believe me, start experimenting. Because I can tell you everything, but it means nothing if you don't experiment with your own body and with your partner. You need to know your body better than your partner knows your body. Okay, and sometimes that's crazy because, for example, I've been with my partner for years now, and I feel he knows my body better than I know my body. Okay, but it's essential that you know what you like and what you don't like. So beautiful. Any questions? Have I blown everybody's mind? Are people thinking about sex right now and maybe masturbating without any camera or noise on? They're just going for it. I know I'm not that sexy, but Danny is.
I know, the funny, no camera, no noise. Well, let's see. I mean, you guys can feel free to jump in. If not, I mean, yeah, jump in now or don't.
Yeah, no problem. Whatever, give us feedback whenever you want. If you enjoyed this, please. Thank you so much. It was so lovely. I wish those other people had stayed on for another few minutes to get the breathing, but I think we went over time a bit.
That was the juiciest.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
so
Exactly.
thrilled.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And please, of course, follow me, Global Breathing Awareness, please. And, we're giving lots of information, and the seminar, I have 2 seminars. One's online. Thank you, Sheikha. It was so good to know you're on. We have online courses. We have the Samothraki training. Invest in learning about your breath. I had a few work meetings at the same time, so I had to be in and out. Yeah. Did you get to see, Adam? Did you get to do the breathing at the end? I don't know. Anyway, only half. I'm sorry. It was fun. So yes, invest in learning about your breath, whether it's with me or whether it's having private sessions with Danny. And I would love to have you guys on a training and meet you all and answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We are doing it again.
Yes,
More,
definitely.
more shall be revealed in the next breath.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Katia.
I thank you, my love. It's always such a pleasure being with you, and I love it that you are intersex, and you want people to learn about it, and not only sex, of course, into all of the wonderful, healthy things for your body. You're into your body.
Mm.
You see, that's why you're such a horny person. Sorry, but it's true. And it's amazing. You should be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Gone are the days where it was shameful to be out there. It's beautiful to be out there. What's wrong with it? Right?
Yeah, you can just hear me on the opposite side of the microphone. I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah. Learn about your beautiful bodies. Your bodies are so beautiful. It's so nice. Just love your bodies so much. That's the only thing I want to leave you with. Learn about your body. Experiment, sensation, breath, touch yourself, do everything. Your body is such a miracle. It's amazing. Okay. So I'm leaving you. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, everybody. It was so lovely. And